What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dave Show. All right, a little different scenery today, coming at you guys from my garage. Figured this would be the easiest place to shoot this video. Excuse the little bit of mess over there, and as you can see, I'm halfway through insulating the roof. But anyways, today we're going to be discussing some hand tools for emergency kind of scenarios. I guess you could say more like a shit hits the fan type of thing. But this isn't going to be an all-inclusive list, and this is going to focus more on like a suburban to urban type of environment. And these are just some recommendations and some starting points for stuff that's not super heavy. You can take it on the move with you if you have to, and it's going to really help you out in terms of scavenging, accessing things, stuff of that nature. Okay, and this isn't really in any particular order. I piled a bunch of tools here on my table, and we're just going to grab from the top and go through it. If you like this kind of stuff, definitely feel free to like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. That stuff really helps out. Channel's growing. We're over 550 subscribers, which is amazing. Really appreciate you guys. Sorry if you hear my dog in the background, but we'll get right into it after we hydrate. All right, so this right here will be the first thing we discuss. These are what you call lineman pliers. Basically, it's a set of pliers and a nice set of wire cutters. I recommend going as big as possible on these. I think this is a 9-inch pair. Don't quote me on that. It's either a 7 or a 9. But these are very versatile. So obviously anything that you would need pliers for can be accomplished up here. But what's nice too is like these, especially the 9-inch ones, when you get longer handles on tools like this, it provides more leverage trying to cut through stuff. So these are pretty strong. They're meant for wire, obviously, but these work really good on things like chain link fence and stuff like that. So if you're in an urban environment, you're trying to find resources, or you're trying to get from point A to point B, kind of staying off the roads, you could get your way through a chain link fence with these. You could use these to, pick things up that you don't want to touch with your hands, what have you. And what's nice when these get to be this size too, is you can actually use this flat face here as a hammer. And if you're an electrician or an HVAC guy, and you've ever used these as a hammer, which you probably do almost every day, definitely give me a comment, give me a like, give me some love, all right? Lineman pliers. Moving on from there, I would recommend having an adjustable wrench. Now, this is a 10-inch adjustable. They come in a variety of sizes, but again, for this type of application, could you go with something smaller? You could. But you're not going to be able to use this on bigger bolts, nuts, things like that, whereas something like this, you will. And this has a little weight too, so even if someone tried to get, was feeling froggy, you could just give them a nice smack, right? But I think this will fit this 10-inch one. I think you can go up to over a 1-inch nut or bolt with this. As you can see, you just got to be careful with these. They call them knuckle busters for a reason. If you use the wrench and you're really torquing down on something, these are kind of notorious for slipping off and then you're busting your knuckles. So something to keep in mind, but just instead of having to carry a bunch of sockets or different size wrenches, if you have a nice adjustable wrench, you can use that to unbolt things, bolt things down. Like I said, it's got a little weight to it, so you could strike stuff with it too. And these aren't like a one-size-fits-all solution, I guess you could say. So that's why I'm recommending kind of all of it. You're going to spend a little bit of money, but you could go to like Harbor Freight or something and get some cheaper stuff if you want, or whatever, Crescent. I think they sell these at Home Depot. Cobalt is Lowe's, and these are just all tools that I have in my garage. And I have duplicates of all of it and stuff like that, but I work in construction. I work around my house all the time, all this stuff. So I have all these already. Kind of next in line after those two, I would say you want to go out and get a good set of adjustable pliers. Now you're going to find these in two styles. All right, this one has a curved jaw, and they'll also come with a straight inline, like flat jaw you won't see a gap here when they're pinched together. Now these are better if you are trying to get a solid grip on something like a nut or a bolt, or hold something that's cylindrical like a piece of pipe, something like that. Really good tool for that with the curved jaw. But if you're trying to hold something with this, keep in mind you only have this tiny bit of surface area here. So that's why I don't know where my flat jaw pair is, but if you can get both, get both. If not, I would say this is a little more versatile than the straight jaw. But either way, a good set of adjustable pliers. A lot of people call these channel locks too, made famous by the brand Channel Lock, who started producing these back in the day. These are Crescent as well. Crescent makes some decent stuff. Like I said, I believe that's at Home Depot. Moving on from there, you want to get yourself I think, yeah, this is a 6-in-1, but they make them, different brands make like 8-in-1, 7-in-1, whatever, but some sort of screwdriver like this, where you have a Phillips and a flat blade that are smaller. You can flip it over and you'll have the same thing, bigger Phillips and flat blade. And then what's nice too about these is that you have two different sizes you can use as a nut drive with this as well. So I don't have anything, these are bigger. But if you had something like a screw like this is too big for it, but you have a hex head, like a sheet metal screw, tech screw, and let's say it's holding a panel on something that you want to pull off to scavenge wire out of, like a HVAC unit for cordage or something like that. This can really help you in that situation. And then obviously you have the different size bits to go with it. And these will also fit your standard bits for like an impact or anything like that as well. So these are cheap. You can get these for a couple bucks, especially Harbor Freight. I think they're $1. I'm not sure where this one's from. Definitely a good tool to have in the toolbox, right? And there's a lot of other tools that I could recommend, but I'm just kind of keeping this simple today. I can expand upon this if you guys want me to turn this into a series. Like I said, this is for more of an urban, suburban environment. If you want me to do one for like a more rural environment, stuff like that, it's going to be a much more expansive list of tools. But this is just, in my mind, the majority of people, you know, I live in the suburbs right now. I'm trying to relocate. I feel the majority of people that watch this channel probably are in a similar situation. Some of you may be, some of you may not be. But that's what I'm catering to in this video, is the urban and suburban dwellers right now. So we touched on a 6-in-1 or 7-in-1 screwdriver. The other thing I would recommend picking up would be a large flat blade. So these are very versatile. You can use it for a prying tool. You can use it as a chisel, stuff like that. A lot of times, like on job sites, right, you'll see guys that are tin knockers, and here's a trick for you. If you don't know this and you need to cut a hole in ductwork, you take your Lineman's, take your flat blade. You don't stick your flat blade right in, but what you're going to do is you're going to press the edge of the screwdriver up against the sheet metal. You're going to hit it here with your Lineman's, and you can punch holes through sheet metal like nothing with this. Little trick for you. But again, really good prying tool. You can dig with it. You know, you can do all kinds of stuff with a large flat blade. And I would definitely recommend having a large flat blade in addition to a small 6-in-1 screwdriver. This is another Home Depot special Husky, but these things are great. Moving on from there, let's see, we got a couple things left. Go ahead too, you can go ahead and get yourself a set of picks, or you could just get a single pick that looks like this, and these you can use to pick locks and stuff like that. So this can help gain you access to places without like a formal lock pick kit or anything like that. This can get you places. There's a bunch of videos and stuff on these too, so if you want to find out more, I would look that up. I could put a standalone video out on that too at some point. It just won't be very soon. But either way, a pick like this with the hook on top, usually these come in a pack with a few other different shaped picks, and they're cheap. Again, Harbor Freight, you get this for a couple bucks for a set of like 4 of these that are different shapes. And you can really use these to get yourself into some places that you may not otherwise be able to. Staying on that same vein, pick yourself up a small pry bar. Now this is not quite what a lot of people call a cat's paw. Now a cat's paw is similar to this, but it has a flatter forked end on the back as well. But these are a really handy prying tool. Again, you can smash through glass or something if you had to with this. And it's not as heavy as a big crowbar or anything like that. If you want to get a bigger pry bar, go for it. You could use that as kind of a means to defend yourself too, but it is going to add a little more weight and bulk to the stuff you're carrying if you go that route. Now, I don't have one in here for this video because I'm going to recommend this in conjunction with something like this, which is a flat bar. Now, these come in different sizes as well. This was just the one that was on top of my toolbox, but obviously same thing, prying tool, you can pull nails, you can get a lot of shit done with a flat bar. And obviously to go in conjunction with that, actually, this one, I bought this as a set. I think it was on sale. I think it was at Lowe's. That's who carries Craftsman tools now. But you want to go get yourself in my opinion, a framing hammer with a claw, because framing hammers have more weight to them. This one is a 20-ounce framing hammer. Now, again, you can use this to defend yourself. You can use the backside to get yourself into places. Or if you want to use these in conjunction with each other, obviously you want to pry something open, you stick this in, you can hit it from here. If you want to use this side of things, you go ahead and see obviously where the paint's worn off. That's one of the primary spots you would use the hammer to hit it and get into whatever you want to get into. The other thing I would recommend, if you don't want to get a rip claw type of hammer, framing hammer, the other hammer I would suggest in that case, especially if you already have a flat bar, is going to be a ball peen hammer. So ball peen hammers are versatile. They're a great defensive tool. Actually, it's funny. I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that this is the preferred weapon of choice for motorcycle gangs. Specifically, I think it's the Hells Angels I heard use these, because if they get pulled over, right, and they get searched, you can't get arrested for having a ball peen hammer. But this thing, they're heavy. So this is a 24-ounce ball peen hammer. It's a Pittsburgh, so that's a Harbor Freight special. Again, these come in different shapes and sizes, but I would go larger in this case. For this use case, you can defend yourself with this, and then obviously you can do everything you can with this hammer except for the prying applications. But ball peen hammers are great. They got a bunch of different use cases, and that's why I'm recommending it. Coming down the home stretch, I don't know if you want to consider this a tool. I mean, it is a tool, but I would definitely recommend a utility knife, razor knife, box cutter, whatever you want to call it. I like these better than the folding style ones, because with these, you can store additional blades inside of it. you hear that, there's extra blades in here. So the big reason I recommend this, like, yeah, you're going to have a pocket knife probably or a fixed blade knife, but sometimes you don't want to use that to cut through certain things. Like if you're trying to cut something that you know is going to screw your knife blade up, are you going to want to use your nice one, or are you just going to want to use this, and when this blade's junk, just replace the blade and you keep on going? For me, I would prefer to use this. So this will help give you longevity in your other cutting tools. They're inexpensive, and like I said, you can store extra blades right in it. So I would highly recommend this. And then obviously, if you want to store blades in here or change blades, you're going to need your 6-in-1 screwdriver. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on that actually I think if you're someone that lives in an urban environment especially, this should be a big priority, is a Silcock key. So I don't know if you guys have ever walked by a building, like a commercial building on the street, on the sidewalk, and you see that they have a hose bib coming out of it or a little cover over a hose bib, and it's got either a triangular or a square shaped head to access it and also to turn the water on. This will get you into almost any of that. You can pick these up on Amazon. You can pick them up all over the place, and they're pretty cheap. I'm saying under $10, but I mean, in this economy, maybe under 15. Either way, even if systems start to fail, or this is great for like a get home bag, that kind of thing too, if you want to use it for that. But you won't lose water pressure in metropolitan areas and stuff right away in a major event. Usually you got at least, I mean, depending where it is, but most cities you're looking at 90 to 100 PSI coming off the street. So you'll start to lose pressure and then you'll lose water eventually, but that's going to take days. So if you're on the go, on the move, and you need to get some water, is a great way to do that. You'd still probably want to filter it because you don't know what could be in there. I mean, most of the stuff that comes from municipal water supplies is chlorinated and treated and stuff like that. But in an emergency type of scenario, you can never be too careful with that. The same thing as taking it from a lake or a pond or whatever, right? But I would definitely recommend one of these. And here's a little bonus for you. I just picked this up. I haven't even taught myself how to use it yet, but you could go ahead and get yourself a little lock pit kit as well. This is from a brand called Violent Nomad. I actually bought this a couple years ago and then I lost it. And then I found it like a week ago. So I'm going to be teaching myself how to use this too. But again, access to locked areas. I mean, even if you lock yourself out of your house, right? Good tool to have. One thing I want to caveat with you guys with a lot of this stuff, okay? If you are walking around with a backpack or driving around with a backpack and you get pulled over by a cop, or a cop wants to talk to you and search you, if you get searched and you're not like appearing like a construction worker or something like that, you can go to jail for being in possession of what is called burglary tools. That's a legitimate thing. You can look it up if you don't believe me. But if you get searched by a cop or something like that, and you've got like a pry bar and a hammer and some other like miscellaneous tools like I'm laying out, they can whack you with a charge for having burglary tools, especially if you're in an area where home break-ins or car break-ins have occurred. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're on the go with these tools. But again, like I'm saying, you should have this stuff if you have to go out and scavenge and get into things in a emergency, disaster, end of the world, whatever type of scenario. But in a normal rule of law time, you could end up getting rolled up for having burglary tools in your possession. And they call them burglary tools because burglars use these to break into people's houses and cars and everything else. And I'm Not advocating that you do that. I'm just telling you that in these type of scenarios we're discussing, you're going to want to be able to do that. But that's not in a rule of law situation. That's in a emergency without rule of law type of thing. So just want to make you guys aware of that. But anyways, if you guys like this video, like I said, like, subscribe, share, do all that fun stuff. If you have any additional tools you would recommend, please put it down in the comments below. If you want me to do some more videos on basic hand tools for emergency and shit hit the fan scenarios, definitely let me know down below too. I could do that. But I'm going to cut the video here. Until next time, it's the Dave Show. I'm signing off. Peace.